In today's video, I'm going to give you guys a lot of tips and a mini tutorial on how to use Invisible Woman as of Season 5 in Marvel Rivals. Now, I say as of Season 5 because she does have some changes to her, despite coming out in Season, whatever that even was at this point, 2, 1.5, I can't even remember. But yeah, there's been some changes to her kit. She is one of the strongest strategists in the entire game, in my opinion. And so yeah, let's just get right into it. So her primary is a projectile that goes through and back through a enemy or teammate. And so just for example, again, just kind of start from the beginning here, like this. Pretty simple, right? So you basically want to try and position yourself, and positioning is very important in Marvel Rivals using anyone, especially support characters, but especially Invisible Woman, because you can do damage while also healing your entire team. And again, I'll show other clips later on in this, but trying to start pretty basic here. These are two enemies. It does decent damage. She has a lot of shots in her primary. She has 10. It does more than you'd think. So it is really nice. You always want to try and align yourself where you can maximize as many teammates as possible with your healing, and then also damaging opponents that way as well. Now, she has a very unique kit for a support character because she can also do some things that other support characters cannot, such as kind of take space in a way. Now, I'm on controller, so I'm not sure what the buttons are for all the PC players. I apologize. But the right bumper for me grants you this. You can either pull enemies to you or push enemies away. And so this is on, I believe, an 8-second cooldown. We'll push them away. It does do a fairly significant amount of knockback. You can actually knock people off the point with it. It does do enough to actually push them that far out. So again, the push or the pull, you have to confirm it. So always try and have in mind which one you want to do when you're using the move, and not all of a sudden, can't think of what you want to do and you get shot. You know how it goes. So as far as pushing and pulling, so sometimes I like to use this a lot when the teams are all just in a straight line, basically. And when that happens, as if you're using Invisible Woman, it should be fireworks for you. You should be very excited because not only can you heal your entire team at the same time and do damage at the same time, but you can also help pull the enemies to you or to your teammates with the pull, or push them back with the push. I said that you can actually help take space for your team with a support character because of Invisible Woman's kit. That is what I mean. If your team is struggling to push up, which I know happens a lot in this game, it's very, 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 very frustrating. You can help out your tanks a little bit. You can really, I'm gonna come over here and do this. You can push them back a far amount, really. You just have to be careful as to not get too close and get picked by a DPS character or a tank, and then all of a sudden you're out of the team fight. So you want to always be careful as to where you're standing with her, but she can also be very effective from further back. I believe as of just last season, this was her maximum, but they've buffed it to, I believe, 35. You can really hit shots, I want to say, all the way back here. It's a little bit of a stretch, but still, that's really, really good range for someone that can heal and do damage at the exact same time. That's the basics for the pull and push, but we will come back to it with some more creative ways to use it, so just stay tuned for that. The left bumper is this projectile she shoots, which kind of slowly pulls enemies in and does damage. This move is incredibly important, and it's what really can separate someone from being decent with Invisible Woman to being very, very good with her. So sometimes I like to use it to, let's say, like this. You can kind of shut down almost a walkway a little bit. You throw that there, kind of buy your team some time to maybe regroup if they're taking a lot of damage, prevent the team from pushing out, unless of course you're all low and they're going to do it anyways. But regardless, it is a really, really nice move to use, and you can use it in a variety of ways. For instance, like I just said, you can kind of shut down like a walkway a little bit like that. I like to personally use it like this, and I'm gonna have to show some clips later on because it's gonna be a little difficult too, just in the training area like this. But what I like to do is, let's say I'm standing, we'll say like 20 meters back, right? And instead of those bots, it's two tanks. I don't care if it's a shield tank. It really doesn't matter if your aim is decent enough. But what you can do, and what I like to do, is you can kind of do your double jump, which I haven't covered yet, but it is a double jump. If you are invisible, or sorry, if you are visible, and you want to go invisible, you can use your double jump, and it automatically makes you go invisible, like so. Or if you want to be invisible and you don't have your double jump, you can just wait a few seconds and you will automatically go back invisible. And she also heals over time while invisible. Probably should have led with that. That's my fault. But nonetheless, I like to use the double jump and to use this projectile, kind of combo it a little bit. So I like to jump up and shoot the projectile behind, and then you can push people back into it. And so what this does, even without pushing them back into it, let's say your team it's a convoy match, right? You're trying to get to the point. If you shoot that projectile behind the tanks, it usually can separate the DPS and the tanks. So there's more space in between while also pushing the tanks backwards as you're moving forward into that projectile. And so what I like to do is I like to shoot it behind them, and then as they are naturally walking backwards, all of a sudden they start taking damage, and then you shoot them even further back into it or behind it completely. It's a really, really efficient way to take space, especially in convoy, because, I mean, like anything in this game, if you're taking damage, you're going to get out of the way. So at the very least, even if you're not pushing them back super far, as long as your aim is right and you can put this in a worthwhile spot, they will have to move outside of the area of that to no longer take damage, if that makes sense. It should be pretty basic. And so since you are a support character and you should be healing pretty consistently, it really doesn't feel like the cooldown is that long. And I honestly am hoping they never make the cooldown longer because it's low-key kind of nice right now. So let's say you shoot it back there, you go back to healing your team. You should be healing your team for a solid 10 seconds anyway before you even think about having to use that projectile. So it's honestly like you use it, you get the value, you go back to healing, and then by the time you maybe can even use it again, it's already back off cooldown. I gotta say, there's very few times in games where I'm like, man, I wish I had that projectile back off cooldown. It really seems like as long as you're doing your job right as a support, while you're healing, it'll just kind of naturally come back off cooldown. You shouldn't have to like really be frustrated about when you used it as long as you're using it correctly. But like I said, you can use it in a lot of different ways. So you can use it to shut down areas like that, push them back into it. The same goes with, I mean, even this, you can, if you really want to, pull them forward into it as well. As far as the push and pull, though, I want to go back to that just for a second. So again, I mentioned the projectile can really separate someone from being good with her to being really, really good with her. And the same goes for this push and pull. So for instance, you really need to know what you're going to use before you even press the right bumper to begin with. To even bring up this prompt prior to, you need to know what you want to use. So whatever button it is for you, make sure you know immediately off the top of your head what you're going to do, because it can be the difference in the move working or not. For instance, if there is a Black Panther, obviously they are very, very quick. They're hard to stop. You always have to try and ground them to really kill them effectively. But if they are low, a lot of times you can pull them, if you time it correctly, back in, and a DPS or tank character on your team can ultimately get the kill. Again, it's kind of tough to time that correctly sometimes, but it is worthwhile, and you can do that for pretty much any character. I find the most effective with characters that have easy mobility to get away. You can pull them back in a little bit. Another thing you can do with this as far as pushing is a Spider-Man ult. Whenever they drop on you, you can push them away pretty quickly and then jump back. That's kind of the combo you want to do. So again, I'm trying to start very basic. You're going to go more in depth in a moment, but just knowing those kind of basics at the very least of what to do with them is going to go a long way for you using Invisible Woman. Now, another thing you can do, I'm actually going to kind of come back over here to this area of the practice range, is she has a shield. So let's say one of these bots, of course, they're on your team. You just press whatever button it is for you, left trigger for me. It grants this shield, has about 200 health on it, which again goes very, very quick if you're using it in the middle of a team fight. But the healing it does literally helps save your team countless times during fights. As long as you're using this correctly, you will help keep your tanks alive a whole lot more. There are good times and bad times to use this. So again, I like to use this primarily, I'm not going to say always, but primarily for tanks and DPS on the ground. I like to kind of trust my own aim in healing flyers. So it's kind of like flyer up here, I'm healing them, I shield right here, go back to healing them, go back down, keep healing, come back, like kind of like that. I'm not saying you shouldn't shield flyers, but what I will say is this: you need to know what type of character is on your team. And what I mean by that is there are different types of flyers. There are flyers like Iron Man, where you're up all over and you're flying all around, or Storm, where you're kind of closer in the team fight a little bit. You're not super high in the air, at least you're not supposed to be a whole lot. And so it does matter there, right? So let's say there's an Iron Man just sitting up there shooting down the other team. Yeah, I'll throw him a shield up there to kind of hide behind a little bit, keep his healing up, and then go back to healing my team down here. However, let's say it's a Scarlet Witch, right? When she's coming back with her like flight ability, I can't remember what it's called at this point, but whenever she's coming back, she's kind of descending, okay? So if you were to use the left trigger, if you were to use your shield when she's descending, you're going to put a shield in the air, and then the character's going to be back down on the ground. So you kind of just wasted a shield, if that makes sense. So the shield's going to be in the air, but she's back on the ground, and if you're healing her as she comes in, now you're out of shield and they're on full health. There's no reason to use that there. So you want to know what type of characters are going to be in the air or in that spot for a long period of time to really necessitate giving them a shield up there in the air like that. Otherwise, I like to use my shields pretty much always on tanks and DPSs and just try and focus on the flyers myself. But again, like I just said, just know what type of flyer it is. Human Torch is another good one to shield. He kind of tends to sit up there a little bit and position himself. I cannot even remember now that I'm on the spot, which is unfortunate. But again, just like I said, as far as like Scarlet Witch goes, you know, use that shield with the most value in mind. You know, if they're coming down to the ground and they're on like probably 2-shot, just heal them. You know, just heal them. Don't throw a shield up there. All of a sudden your shield's gone and the character's already away from the shield. You didn't get much healing from it. It's just not really worth it. At the beginning of the video, though, I said, also, here's just a good example for healing. I said the damage, it works the same as the healing. Like this, just goes straight through and comes back. So again, always position yourself to where you can maximize your healing and your damage. The reason at the beginning of the video, though, when I said, as of Season 6, like, learning this character, is they actually gave her a new move, which I was so happy about. So going back to her shields, right? For the longest time, if I was ever low and the other healer was dead, I'd have to shield a teammate and then try and jump to it to also help heal myself, right? Because if I'm invisible, I can't heal my team. Because the second I shoot, I come back to being visible, right? But now, they made it so that if a shield is not in use, you can just press, again, it's the B button for me, and a shield comes up for herself. And this is a huge buff for a variety of reasons. First off, I cannot tell you guys prior to this season how many times I would wish I could just shield myself rather than shield someone else and have to jump to it and hope not to die, just get my health up. So this is a huge buff, just, you know, straightforward, just like that. Being able to shield yourself, huge. Also, though, what you can do with this is, let's say there's an Iron Man ult or a Magneto ult. You can throw this shield up and jump back a little bit, and if it hits the shield, you will block it. So, again, I want to be very clear about this, though. You need to time this correctly. If Magneto is in the air, okay, here, I'm going to scoot back actually again. We'll come back over here. If Magneto is in the air, let's say he's at the 10-meter mark, straight up here, and he's holding his ult before throwing it, and you decide to shield yourself like this, you're going to die. Because if he knows what he's doing, he's just going to throw it behind you, and it's still going to hit you. So what you have to do is you have to wait for him to launch it, and then you need to shield yourself, right? So if you're standing here, again, let's say he's at the 10-meter mark, all of a sudden he throws a projectile. Once it's thrown, I would press B, which is the shield for me, and then jump back like this, just to be safe. You don't have to do that. I would, because you want to be further back anyways, and if he's going to throw that at you, you might as well make sure you're way out of the way. So I would go B and then double jump. So I would go shield, double jump, if an Iron Man ult or Magneto ult is coming right at me to help shield, break the ult completely. And again, that's a huge buff for a support character to be able to use that with a move as simple as a shield with minimal cooldown time. That's a big deal. Off the top of my head, the only other support character to really do that with a move that simple is Loki with his like lanterns. You know, I can't remember what the move is called. But again, he has decoys down. He hits whatever button is for you, left bumper for me. All of a sudden, there's like those pods of green that stay healing. You can block ults with that. And again, that's on a way longer cooldown than these shields are. So if you use these shields correctly and jump back, you can get a lot of value with blocking ults and staying alive. And what's crazy is Invisible Woman's survivability is already really, really high. I mean, this is an invisible character. And I feel like in a lot of my ranked games, I'm not sure about you guys, but Daredevil was banned a lot of time. Daredevil is the only character who can see people while they're invisible consistently like that. So if he's not in the game, I mean, you should not be dying if you're playing her well. You should probably, I mean, it depends on the game. I'm not going to say you should have less than 6 deaths because, like, some of those crazy overtime games, you know, everybody's got 11 or 12. It happens. But if you are using her correctly, especially with her range being buffed, you can stay way back in these team fights while healing your team in front of you and doing damage on anyone in front of you as well. I do want to talk about as well her ult in just a moment, but I will also say as well, being a support character, obviously you can get dove a lot by, you know, Iron Fist, Black Panther, Captain America, Venom, whoever it is. You always want to use your double jump there to get back. That's kind of her main way of doing that. Something else I will say, though, is once you get more time on her and you really get a feel for the kit, you can pretty much, and what I do sometimes, I'll just unload basically all the moves I have. If someone's right on me and it's the end of the game and I can really just not afford to die, I will jump, knock them back, and even throw the projectile down just like that to really try and get as much space as possible between me and that dive character. Again, that puts essentially everything on cooldown, so it is pretty much all or nothing, but it can be a very effective way at staying alive with her. Another thing I like to do as well, if it is kind of like that end game and you should really be on the point, if it's an overtime or whatever it is, throw that projectile down on the point, right? This is a pretty big area of damage that it has. The area damage is honestly pretty decent. If you put that down the point correctly, I mean, again, depends on the game. I can't really say universally where to put it, but if you can use that effectively, you can pretty much shut out a large portion, if not all of the point, and just kind of try and hide behind it a little bit, just stall, maybe knock them back. Just always try and keep a lot of space between you and the enemy. That should be the rule of thumb pretty much always as a support character. I'm not going to say, you know, no matter what, because a lot of things happen. These characters are different from each other, but you do always want to have that space. And Invisible Woman is really, really good at not just, I mean, let's say I have my jump, right? So I knock back an enemy, and now they're further away. But let's say now my team is pushing up really far. Well, now you can double jump forward as well. So you can really use these moves. Yeah, I say you can use them to push people back and jump away from them, but you can also use them to jump forward as well and group up with your team if you get separated. It really is just a matter of knowing when to use what for her. And I know it goes for a lot of characters, but her especially, because there aren't a lot of moves that, I mean, there's not a lot of moves in general, but the cooldowns on them really aren't that bad. So if you're using them correctly and getting the value from them, you should be able to get yourself out of trouble. And then by the time you are, you know, back under fire, you should have pretty much all your moves off of cooldown again. Another thing I will say now is her ult. So you press to use it and it grants you this. You can cancel it, which is really, really important because I cannot tell you the amount of times where I've got this ult, I've chose to use it, I've done this, and then all of a sudden I hear another support character on my team use their ult. And I don't want to double up at this point, so I can just cancel it and go back to fighting, wait for it to be done, and then do it. So it does really matter, to be honest. Another issue that comes up with her is, I mean, look at how vulnerable she is right now. Vulnerable. Not sure why that sounded weird. But look how vulnerable she is. And again, if you're using this quickly, I mean, it's not going to take any time. You just do this, boom, it's up. And this huge area is going to make everything invisible inside of it. And, like, your teammates, they'll all be invisible, and they will be granted healing during that time that they're in there. I have to go get my ult back. I wasn't really thinking. But yeah, so it's a very good ult. It is, you have to use it, you know, at the right time, like any other ult. But the issue that comes up a lot with her is how vulnerable you are when you go to use it. And so what I mean by this is you can, let's say you're Luna, right? You can use her ult on low health, and it's pretty much instant that you're using her ult. Cloak and Dagger, there is that just brief time where you can kill her right before she starts using her ult. I know Hawkeye is a really effective character at actually shooting her whenever she uses it. But regardless, same goes for Invisible Woman. So I'm actually just going to go back up here so I can keep using the ult over and over again to show multiple examples of this. But you never want to use it when you're on, like, one shot, probably even two shot, because when you do this, it makes you visible again. You do not stay invisible when you go to use the ult. Even if you don't confirm it, even if you're just thinking about it, you can still die. So worst case scenario, you do this, and right as you're clicking confirm, you get hit on low health. You die instantly, your ult's gone, you waste it. So it's really important to not panic ult with her. You need to have in mind who the other team has alive, as far as what damage you can take, where you are in terms of space. Are you really close to them? Can they easily hit you? Because I mean, it's going to happen. Everyone using her at some point or another is going to do this. They're going to hit confirm and they're going to die and waste the ult. It happens. There's good players that are going to see that and make the support character pay. But it really does come down to knowing when to use it and your positioning with it. Because if you are far enough back, even behind a tank or something, and even if you are on low health, I mean, look, just activate it, confirm it. It's very quick. So you just have to not think about it pretty much. The time you second guess yourself when you're low, that's going to be the difference between you being alive and wasting your ult. But it is a very good ult. It is one of the support ults people don't like, I think, because it's like the invincibility, which I get it. I think support ults should be more creative than just like, this ult makes you invincible for 15 seconds. Like, I mean, I think Gambit's is kind of cooler and more strategic in my opinion. But getting into a game right here, I'm going to try and showcase some of the things I was talking about in the practice range. I was hoping it was not going to be domination because domination makes it a bit difficult to position yourself well, especially with this big thing in the center of the point. So kind of annoying, but hopefully you can still pick up on some of the things I was talking about and just some better examples of it as well. But again, so right now I'm always going to try and be in line with multiple of my teammates, right? I'm going to knock him away. Okay, that was a good ult, so I'm probably going to die. Good ult action by the Warlock there, and that kind of shows right there as well what I was talking about when it comes to getting out of trouble. So I'm going to ult right here, kind of help us stay in this fight a little bit, and it's really just going to be key to just hang back on this. I'm going to keep that in the video. But like right here's a good example. A lot of people are lined up, everybody's fighting, and you just want to hang back, keep healing them, keep doing damage, throw your projectile in there, let that rack up damage as well. I mean, a bunch of people are low. And again, it's really a simple character at the end of the day. You just have to kind of master that positioning and when to use it to your advantage. And essentially, as long as you are, I'll say far enough away to be doing damage and healing at the same time, that's when you're getting the most out of her kit. Right there, I threw that because I thought someone was coming through. Again, no one was, but that is kind of the thinking you want to have with that projectile. If someone is coming up, you throw that. You can buy your teammate a little bit of time to escape or reposition himself with that orb. I'm not going to waste it on, I think it's like a Gambit back there. I'm not going to throw that back there. But you want to throw it when your teammate's getting pushed. Right here, we're going to shoot it against that wall and then kind of jump back away from trouble. And it makes them have to scatter, right? So they can't really sit there and stay lined up shooting your team because now they have to reposition themselves. And that, at the very least, is what you want from it. Maybe you don't do a bunch of damage or make them have to completely get away, but you should, at the very least, be able to make them get out of the formation they're currently in. And again, right there is another good use of that pull, or knockback. Is the Witch ult. Again, if she comes around a corner, I love to always knock her back and jump away. It works really well. It's usually really, really effective. But yeah, I mean, this is kind of a poor example of a game. It's just a quick match. It's not super competitive. I don't even have game sound because it's just like, you know, it is what it is. But yeah, so they're going to portal on. And again, at this point, you want to kind of... This would be a good example right here. So right now, they're going to have some ults. I'm going to do this to try and prevent... I thought the strange was an ult there. I'm not sure if he did or not. But right now, that ult kind of helps us, right? Because we're able to position ourselves now. Still kind of hang in the fight. Again, I wish this was a more competitive game, but I'm just not going to be doing that. Just for a tutorial right now. And again, right there, hopefully you guys saw that. He ulted the Warlock. I was able to get in there and actually push the Strange back from killing him, and ultimately got a ultimate off thanks to Warlock, and now our team is back. You can get so much value out of stuff like that. It really is unbelievable, and I do like Invis a lot. She's probably my favorite character in the entire game. I find her so much fun. I am definitely a support main. I'm going to throw the orb there. We'll pull Rocket over, try and do some more damage to him. Strange is very low as well. I don't know. Sometimes these non-comp domination games can be so out of whack, and it's just kind of weird when you really realize it. But again, she's an awesome character. And there's just so many things you can do with her kit. Alright, so now getting to the second round of this domination game. Again, I wish I could show more of the positioning because it is a lot different when there's just like a huge, you know, tree thing in the middle of the point. It's much better in Convoy, but at the end of the day, again, oh, he's already dead, so I kind of wasted this. Well, this is awkward. I'm just going to push him away, I guess, and shield over here. But again, it can be kind of hard to show the positioning in domination. But again, it's just still the same principle. Just try and maximize the amount of healing and damage you can do at the same time. I'm going to pull Strange in. That didn't really work, I don't think, but whatever. We'll throw a projectile right here. And that's kind of what I'm talking about right there. They had to kind of pass through that as I die. Also, shout out to the Warlock, really putting in work right now. I'm going to ult, actually, now that we're back. And let's see, try and shield, that did not work. Projectile, knock the Strange away, jump back. And again, that right there is a good example of kind of those combinations where you can kind of push someone back, do your double jump to get away even further. Put the projectile down right here. Okay, that's unfortunate because we were trying to go more right here. Didn't quite go that far. Pretty much everybody except Cap alive now for the second team fight. The Strange really does not like me at all. So we're just going to throw an orb down there. And we got some decent damage. And again, here's a good example. I'm healing and doing damage all at the same time. All because of that pierce that Invisible Woman has. And again, I haven't shown a lot of it in domination. But if this was a convoy, you can probably imagine how that'd be so effective when everyone's moving at the same spot at the same time. All going forward like that. We're going to actually knock Rocket away here. I don't want to touch the point, and I guess we'll just melee him for a kill. I'm not sure what the plan was there. Next team fight, they're kind of coming out here. I'm going to shield. We'll throw a projectile right. Let's hope that go further. I'm not sure how I messed it up twice today, of course. Just got ulted by Strange, and they paired it with a Moon Knight ult. I'm going to ult myself out, actually, and we will stay alive for the most part. Trying to break this Rocket ult, I guess. Another good use, actually, and it is on cooldown, funny enough, but my projectile, you can throw that on Rocket's ult, and it's actually pretty decent as far as just helping break it. So, again, that's another use for it as well. I wasn't able to showcase right there, but it is also very effective that way as well. It's also good to know what other characters are more vulnerable to your attacks, and that's a rule of thumb for everyone in this game, especially for Invis, though, and her knockback, because there are some characters who are invincible to that. Such as the Thing, he cannot be knocked back. When you do that move, it does still do some damage, but it's not going to move him anywhere. The same goes for Groot now with his buff. If he's near that wall, he's not going to be pushed back. So don't waste it on a move like that. That's a good Moon Knight ult, just didn't really get me there. But yeah, so it's good to know what characters are more susceptible to what things. We're going to try and pull Rocket back around if he's going to actually walk around. No, I missed. Rocket's really good at stalling the point if you do it correctly. Do his no health, we got him there. And I get Strange ulted. That's great. Overtime, I wish that did not just happen. We're going to have to pop this now. Really not sure why we ran up there so fast and died, but it is what it is. We're going to stand right outside of the Moon Knight ult here while still healing. Okay, staying alive. So we're going to shoot my projectile on that Rocket ult. Kind of helps. And I'm going to knock her back. I didn't get far enough away. That was my fault. So going into round 3, this is a really good example of her survivability that I was talking about. I have 3 deaths. I have half as many, basically, as anyone else, essentially in the entire lobby. 22,000 healing, and I don't even have game sound. I'm literally just sitting here, talking through it out loud, and yeah, I'm not even really locked in, as dumb as that sounds. So she's an awesome character, definitely my favorite. We're changing the comp here a little bit. Okay. Alright, making our way back out here. I cannot help who that was. That was the Angela. We just all cannot get on the same page at the moment. They took an early lead here, claiming the point. So, again, right now, I can throw my projectile down there, but there's not really a fight going on, right? So what am I going to get out of that? Yeah, I might do some damage. They're just going to jump back immediately. Nothing's really going to come of it. So it's good to be mindful of that kind of thing as well. As like, you know, yes, you could use it then, but is it the best use of it overall? And that's a really annoying ult there. And as I mentioned before about that projectile, I want to get a good example of that, but I really feel like it's just more prominent in Convoy when you can see getting a lot of damage for it. But right here, we're going to position ourselves a little bit. I wish we would push in. I'm not sure what is holding us back right now. Now we're pushing a little bit. Things right here. Let's see. Walk around. We'll jump over and throw a projectile there. Knock back the Strange. And so ultimately we lost, but I mean, look at this. 25,000 healing, 11,000 damage, 2 final hits. This is a quick play domination game, and I'm just kind of talking through the tutorial. You know what I mean? So you can put up really great numbers with her, especially healing wise. as long as you focus on positioning yourself to really maximize that damage and that healing. I had 11,000 damage. That's the same as that Angela. And not to knock them, but, you know, I was just working on positioning myself to maximize that. And I just kind of racked that up naturally. I didn't go out and look for that damage. That's just kind of passive damage from just playing Invis. And again, I took a lot more damage than I probably should have as well. But again, least deaths in the lobby, I believe, and 15,000 damage blocked. Her mobility, her escapability is all really, really good. You just got to master that kit. Hopefully I gave a good example there and just some nice tips for you guys to use if you're maybe learning to use her from, you know, no experience, or maybe you already do use her and just want to try and maybe take it to the next level a little bit. I'm not going to claim to be this, like, you know, celestial player. I've peaked at Grandmaster. I do other things. I don't sit around and play the game all day. But it is absolutely possible to get there from some of these tips. Invis is my most played character, about 80 hours on her, which I know in the grand scheme of things, with a lot of other players and streamers isn't a lot, but you're just not going to get that from me. I don't only play this game all day. No offense to anyone else. But yes, it is absolutely possible to get as high as Grandmaster using someone like Invis. You just got to be careful about your moves. Try and just really get into games, get into an AI game, put it on hard, and just work on positioning yourself and get used to that. Use the knockback well, use the projectile well, really just try and get the most out of that because the cooldowns are not long. You know what I mean? Worst case scenario, you use it, didn't get much out of it, it'll come right back. Just make sure you focus on healing. Really fun character. Hopefully this helped you guys out a little bit. Let me know down below who your favorite character to use is, or if these tips helped you. I would really appreciate it. Subscribe to new channel. My second channel, my main channel, I just talk about the NFL and do that kind of stuff. And I thought, well, I play video games too. I might as well make some videos on here every once in a while. So yeah, if you guys want to see more, let me know, and I will see you guys in the next one. Peace out.